everyone. I'm Lisa Parenteau, and I'd like to welcome you to Lifting Others as We Rise, the podcast where we dive into the world of real estate and the power of positive thinking. In each episode, we're going to bring you inspiring conversations with real estate professionals and other thought leaders who have really harnessed the power of lifting others up along their journeys. So let's get ready to elevate our mindset. Lifting Others as We Rise podcast, where inspiration is a catalyst for action. Let's go. Welcome to Lifting Others as We Rise podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Parenteau, realtor, team leader, broker associate, and most importantly, Glamma to Eloise Ann, Hazel, and a soon-to-be one coming in June. And I'm here on beautiful Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I'm thrilled to welcome you to another episode of our podcast. I know you're going to enjoy today's episode. I personally can't wait. We've actually had a bunch of scheduling issues that have not allowed us to get together. So sometimes when that happens, you really look forward to finally connecting with someone. So get comfy, settle in, everybody. My intention, as always, is to discover some inspiration and some catalysts for change in the stories of real estate leaders. And today, my special guest is SherriAnne Green. SherriAnne comes to us from Washington, D.C. We were just talking about how I'm going to actually be there next week. She's been a real estate and luxury agent for a little while. She has been in she's in the D.C. area currently. And my understanding is you've been in the D.C. area for about 29, 30 years. So you certainly know that area. And I also understand that you've actually been really exploring your love of architecture and culture and design, and that in D.C., you can really bring so much of that together to serve your clients and your community, as I'm sure you'll share with us a little bit. So whether buying or selling, Sherri's passion and the precision that she brings and pragmatism really help them achieve their goals. And I love your tagline on Facebook, first to last, condo to castle. I love that. I'd love to hear, how that came about. But so welcome, Sherri.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a joy to be with you today. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, and I look forward to our conversation.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. One of the things that's been so rewarding about these conversations with real estate leaders across the country is kind of learning about how they found themselves here in real estate today. It's an ever-changing profession. We are now facing some challenges that we've never, ever seen before. Historic inventory issues, a major change in the way buyers and sellers, agents are compensated. And I think more than ever, it's requiring us to really dig down into why we are here and why we are doing, kind of what we're doing. And a new year, January 2025, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you have faced over the last, if you want to do a decade, 2 decades, that have really helped you be where you are today.
That's a really good question. I think your theme of we're in an ever-changing industry, I think is something we should hold on to. I think that, it's something that as an agent, we can never get too comfortable with what we are doing, because we are going to constantly be in an industry of change. And I think that is the opportunity for us. And I think in many ways, that's a parallel to the way my business career has been. This is my 4th career. This was not the first thing I did out of college. And so seeing that change and seeing the opportunity to do something different, whether it's adjacent or finding the adjacent skill set, I think is sort of the hallmark of a lot of agents. And if it's not, I think it's something we need to embrace, because change is inevitable. And a lot of the changes that we've seen over the last year have actually been really good for the industry. Transparency is very helpful, and we want to be that with each other, and we want to be that with our clients. And so to me, that trajectory of change is something that I think we have to embrace, and we should, because through change can come great opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's really the way I've looked at, each of the career choices that I've made.
So where were you right before you came here, and what challenge was baked into that that brought you, that catapulted you, springboarded you, had you trip into whatever that looked like, the entree
Right.
into this profession?
So I was at an advertising agency for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on advertising, public relations, marketing. I did all of the business development for the agency that I was at. Not all of it for the entire time, but I touched business development almost from the minute I walked through the door. And so that was a place that I loved. I helped grow and helped change. But there became a time that I needed to do something different. I had done everything I could do there. I had multiple different roles, multiple different hats. I had accelerated through the leadership, but it was never going to be my agency. And not that I necessarily wanted it to be, but I had landed at the place that was going to be the pinnacle of my career there, and that was it. And so I was too young to sit there and say, this is it. And so it became time, between a mutual agreement, that I depart. And I knew it was time for me to be my own boss. My father was an entrepreneur, and there's no doubt that a lot of that drive to be a leader, to share, to educate, to do the right thing for my clients at the right time without having to ask permission was something that really drew me.
I love that. I love that. So that's getting at something, I can see. So, because I was going to say, well, what was that little voice saying when, because it's hard, right? Like if things are going pretty smoothly,
right?
I mean, we're okay. Tony Robbins says everyone loves change when it's your idea, right?
Right. So
But it's hard. God bless for you, for us to be in a place that's pretty smooth and volunteer to change into something else. Usually there's something a little deeper or some bit of discomfort somewhere in order for us to have enough motivation to move out of that situation. So what was that little voice saying?
Well, and to be fair and to be transparent, I was laid off as a part of a group of a lot of people. I had been looking at what my next career move was. They didn't know that at the time because I could see the winds of change. So I had been looking in advertising and advertising and marketing, trying to figure out what my next move was. And I had searched for over a year and couldn't find it. There was nothing that spoke to me the way every other career path had done.
Really?
Inside of advertising, right? And so when the decision was made that many of us were laid off, that to me was the pivotal moment to decide, well, then really, what do I want to do? And to me, that was a point of, honestly, yes, it was scary, but at the same time, in many ways, I was comfortable with the fact that if I failed trying something else, it would be okay. And I think that's not something we can see, or I probably would have seen at 25, 28, 32. I really had to be at a point in my life where, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go do something else. I'll go try something else. I can move, I can do whatever it is that I need to do. And there was a comfort in the fact that I had proved myself already in a career and had made a name for myself that I felt like, well, I'll try something else. And if it doesn't work, then I knew that I could come back to advertising if I needed to. There were opportunities that were now presenting themselves to me because I was free of that other role that never would have been presented to me in the field, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And so as I sat through thinking, what do I want to do next? Because now I had a lot of time to really think about it.
Yeah.
When you're looking for a job in the same industry, you're just searching and sending. And for this, it was a little different. And I really thought this was something, advertising was something that had always been in the back of my mind. I had done multiple personal real estate transactions, buying and selling my own home. I had helped my family divest of some property that we held. I was about to be in the midst of divesting some business property that my father held. So there were a lot of times that I had been on both sides of the buying and the selling. And every time I'd sort of gone through this analysis in my mind without really knowing it of why did this happen this way? What would I have done differently? Why didn't I know this? Why am I just finding out about this now? I don't understand this. This should be explained to me better. And so that was really something that was in the back of my mind. And I was so fascinated by the process and something that I loved. And in many ways, it's a job of service. And I think a lot of people don't think about it when they get into it. They think of it as a job of sales. And to me, it is absolutely not that. That is the end result of what I do. But I really believe that I'm in a job of service to my clients.
I love that.
And so I thought, I'm just going to try it. And if I hate it, I'll do something else. And so I jumped in and I loved it. I woke up every day super excited to sit down and go to class and, go to school to get my license. So that was really the change for me. And there was something to be of service to clients, to really see the impact of what you do. That, I think, is something we have to stop and really take in every day. It's the impact that we have on people's lives. The next chapter of their life is set with our interaction with them.
Mm-hmm. And to find a way to celebrate that, for sure, because I think we celebrate the win, we celebrate the sale, bank accounts celebrate, but to celebrate the act of service, I love that. I love the way that you put that. So within that, if you had to think of someone who was kind of a mentor to you during that time period, about service maybe, and maybe it was outside of real estate. Maybe it was your dad, was there someone that you would say kind of served as that light when you realized what that shift was going to be, and that it wasn't, what it sounds like to me, it wasn't just for the money. It wasn't just for people think there's a lot of glory.
Right.
It looked like that during 2020 and 2021, right? That it was really an act of service, and that was a much higher driver, a higher purpose we do. Is there a mentor involved with any of that?
I'm remiss to say that there was a mentor. I think that I've had a lot of people guide me through my career. And one of the things that has been a constant is someone has always seen something in me and let me know what that is. And that has often been the driver of change for me. And is that because I couldn't see it for myself, or I didn't think it was important enough, or I didn't think it was strong enough, or whatever it was. But that has been a catalyst for, I would say, almost every position I've ever had, in terms of especially big positions. Someone would say to me, "You'll be great at this." And then you stop and think, oh, okay. And so that really has been a fascinating trajectory through my career. My first job, I was a consultant for my sorority right out of college, traveled around the globe, and then I went to work for a congressman. And I'm not a political person. Don't really care to talk about politics. But I did it because I knew it would be a great job to learn diplomacy and to serve my country and to be around, what's happening in this amazing city that I get the great fortune to live in. I don't take that for granted one day. But there was a woman who held on to my resume for probably 3 years and would call me every time there was an advertising job and say, "This is what's available, but don't take it yet. This is not your job." And then when she finally told me this was a job, that's what got me out of Congress and into the advertising agency. And then there were people who said the same thing about real estate. "Have you ever thought about this? You've always been good at doing this. Look at you." I helped stage people's homes to sell them before I ever had a license. And so it was just always those little things. So I think I've had too many mentors to name. The people that I'm talking about will recognize that I'm talking about them, but it's really been some group of people or one person that have been pivotal to say, "You'll be great at this. You should do this. Have you ever thought about this?" And I think listening to that can be really important, because sometimes people can see in us what we cannot see for ourselves.
And we often downplay it. We go, "Oh no, I couldn't do that." We often
that's true.
Instinctively knee-jerk fashion, right? And take that time later to sort of regroup and say, well, or maybe even ask that person, what what do you think it is? What do you see in me that you think
Right.
would make me good at that? That
Right.
would be really great. Really great.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
Because
that's a good point.
you want to disregard, we are a little like taken aback. We haven't thought about that. And it's also just a way to really understand how we are walking in the world and what some people might see.
Right.
I love that.
And I think it's got to be something that resonates with you. So
Mhm.
someone could say, oh, you'd be great at this, but it's nothing that you'd ever want to do on a day-to-day basis. But you can see why. And that, to your point, asking, well, why do you think that might get to the skill set that you could apply to something else? But for me, it always was something that they were absolutely right. And so for me, that has really been a trajectory that people have seen in me, what has guided my career.
So some of those moments you say those people that you're speaking about will know who they are. Can you think about a piece of advice that one of them gave to you that really was significant or made a big impact on your life at that time?
Wow. Other than this is what you should do next. And me listening and taking that advice. No, I'm not great with one-liners like that. I don't know of something. I mean, there were tiny little things that I think. Here's an interesting story, maybe, that happened when I was an intern, still in college. And I worked for a woman in a carpet consultancy business. So I'm from Georgia, and carpet is a big, was when I was a kid, a big part of the industry. And so I worked at this marketing and product development firm. And, I'm still in college and don't really know what ends up probably. And we had packed all of these things for her to go to a business meeting, and something didn't get in the bag. And to this day, I don't even know if it was mine to put in the bag or what, but I was in trouble for not putting it in the bag. And I remember we had to find a solution. How do we get this to her? And this was not in the days of easy laptops, email it to her, she can go to Kinko's or FedEx and print it out. That was not going to be easy. So we actually had to put it on a plane. We had to send whatever this was that she needed, box it up, put it on the bottom of a Delta plane. It's called Delta Dash. And you can it's like FedEx, but it's instant. So if the flight takes off from Atlanta at 10 and lands at, 2 o'clock in Chattanooga or wherever, there's the box, there's what you need. It's there immediately, just like you would be as a person. So it's a genius service if you really need something to be delivered same day. But I remember I was taping up boxes, and I had not put the tape on as beautifully as it could have been done. And someone there said to me, no, we can't ship boxes out that don't look perfect. Even the tape on the box has got to be lined up and be beautiful, because it can't look like a sloppy mess for whoever picks it up off whatever turnstile or luggage rack or wherever. It's got to look great. And that sort of was that quality, right? Mm-hmm. How do we always make sure that we're doing something in a beautiful way for whoever is going to receive it? And I think that sort of trajectory.
Yeah, I love that,
because service.
It does. Right? It really does. Also, I think doing the best job you can is part of that. Now, that's going to be very different for different people, right? And depending on whatever that best job is, but knowing that, so that the expectation on the other end will be that it will be done correctly and properly, and not necessarily to have it be a perfectionism, but just have it be to do the very best job that you can. And I think that's an incredibly strong work ethic, and I know it must serve you and your clients because these guys are in uncharted territory. Unless they're investors that do this all day long, which are great because they have no emotional connection. Everybody else only twice or something, right? And it's big stuff, whether it's a $500,000 home or a $5 million home. It's still big stuff. And it has a lot of 500,000 and 5 million have different concerns, but they are as valid to those people at the time, right? And our job has always been to show up and stand there with them shoulder to shoulder and say, I will not leave you. I will stay by your side until we complete whatever this is, and I will do it to the very best of my ability. And that means so much to them.
Yeah.
It does.
It's another tenet of my business, which is treating every client as if they're a luxury client.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a luxury property specialist for Coldwell Banker. I am the trainer for Coldwell Banker. You have to come through the class that I teach to be certified as a luxury agent. So I'm in the luxury world a lot. I'm a global luxury ambassador for Coldwell Banker. So I'm surrounded by luxury. But not all of my clients are in what we would consider a luxury price point. And frankly, to me, that doesn't matter. Because every client, when they are buying a home or divesting of a home, it's the largest gain they'll probably ever see or the largest purchase they'll ever make. And so to me, that is their luxury. So how do we do that presentation? How do we give that service to them that is on point with every client that we have? And it's just like the tape on that box. It should be straight and it should be on right and not bubbled up and crinkled. It should be put together in a beautiful way. And the service to those clients, to me, is the same thing. It should be in a way that is like luxury to them because this is their luxury purchase.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time together. And I have one question that I love to ask all of my guests. And it could definitely come from one of the experiences that you were just talking about in terms of the kinds of service that you're used to, that you demand of yourself and that you share with your clients. And that question is, what is the best, most uplifting compliment you've ever received? And then share with us why it was so uplifting to you.
Oh, gosh. You may have stumped me on that.
Now, I know you receive lots of compliments on your.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, I don't know
that touched your heart about something that someone said.
I think it's when a client asks me what I think because they really want to know what I think for them, right? Not really what I think about it for me. It's what I think about it for them. And I think it's a compliment that they trust me. And it's a compliment that they want to know what I think. And I think the biggest compliment is that I've only been in business less than 9 years, and I have multiple clients who I have done 2, 3, and 4 transactions with. And they're not investors. And that to me is the biggest compliment of all. It's the phone call to say, this is what I want to do next and I need your help. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's the compliment because it shows that I've done a good job. I've treated them in a way, I've respected them in a way, respected their property in a way that they want to work with me again. And that's the greatest compliment I could receive.
Absolutely. I love that because I think if I think about it, I think I would say exactly the same thing. It's those clients that call 3 years later, 5 years later, 6 years later, or 2 years later because their family member or their next door neighbor, or, that you must have done a good job.
Yes.
If they're willing to, I would definitely, and being able to say, as I know you do as well, that our careers are really referral based at this point. And that's right. A big deal. When you first come around, you hear people say that and you're like, whatever. But when you do realize, when you do that analysis in January of 2024 and you look at your sources and you go, oh my gosh, that it used to be realtor.com and blah, blah, blah years ago, right? Because I have a spreadsheet that goes for
beauty.
Yeah. And you can see how it's definitely continued to evolve to, realtor referrals and past client referrals, sphere of influence. That's why in that column.
And repeat. This year, 70% probably of my business were repeat clients.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know. Like I said, it's the biggest compliment I could ever receive.
Well, thank you so much, SherriAnne. This has been a true pleasure having a little cup of tea with you. More about your business and about you. Anyone would be really very lucky to have you as their guide and realtor in the DC area. All of your contact information will be below in our show notes. But again, thank you so much for your time and for helping us continue to lift others as we rise.
Thank you. I appreciate being on today. It was great talking to you.
Thank you so much again for joining us on another amazing episode of Lifting Others as We Rise. I hope you will calendar some time to consider what I think was an amazing catalyst for change in the story of SherriAnne, and that was, what have others said to you, suggested to you? Hey, you might be good at X. You might be good at, and maybe you didn't want to. Maybe they say you might be great at, working at Trader Joe's. And you might say, I don't think I want to work at Trader Joe's right now. But you know what? Maybe you're close to retirement and you think it would be a good idea to work at Trader Joe's. But when someone has pointed out something about you that you really had not considered yourself, and how might that have an impact on everything, and I think also her perspective on her journey in real estate, that it is a profession of service. I just loved that, and it is to me, and I believe to most everyone who is a realtor, that this is a service position, not a sales position. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed today's insights. I surely did. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, because your feedback does matter as I continue to look for different kinds of guests and different kinds of conversations. Until the next episode, keep all of the positivity flowing. The mudra for that actually looks like this. It's called Handsy. And remember, when we make an effort to lift others up with intention, we all rise together. This is Lisa Parenteau signing off from Lifting Others as We Rise. Take good care.